What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's time to continue our 2023 schedule preview / projected records for the 2023 college football season, and we continue them with the NC State Wolfpack. Here's the schedule last year for the NC State Wolfpack. Overall record last year in 2022, 7-5 in the regular season, and then 8-5 overall, or actually 8-4 in the regular season, and then 8-5 overall in 2022. So NC State had a pretty up and down year last year. You look at who they played in the non-conference. They played East Carolina on the road, Charleston Southern. They played Texas Tech out of the Big 12, and then UConn here. So they didn't have too tough of a non-conference schedule, but some of those non-conference games to turn out to be really close. Of course, East Carolina, they almost lost that one. That was a 1-point win there. And then Texas Tech, obviously, and UConn. UConn's a group of 5 team. They made it to a bowl game last year, but Texas Tech was a decent team. So the non-conference schedule, though, I mean, we thought it was not going to be that tough. But, obviously Texas Tech turned out to be, the toughest non-conference game that we thought they would. But UConn and East Carolina and Charleston Southern, we thought those teams were not going to be as good. But you look at who they also played. Pretty much in the ACC. They lost to Clemson, Syracuse on the road. They also lost to Boston College at home, which is a game that could have won. And then they lost to Louisville on the road as well. But they did defeat North Carolina on the road, so that's the only true road game in the ACC that they won last year. So, yeah, kind of an up and down year for NC State. A new era coming in a little bit for NC State this year. Devin Leary gone. He's entered the transfer portal, so that's a huge loss there for this NC State team. And plus, Devin Leary got hurt in the season. He did not play against Clemson, or actually Syracuse, I believe. So, it was kind of like a tough season last year for this NC State team. Let's look now ahead to 2023. Here's a schedule for NC State for the Wolfpack in 2023. You look at who they'll play in the non-conference. They'll play UConn once again, and this time it will be on the road, and this will be their Week 1 matchup. Then they'll play Notre Dame at home. Then they'll play VMI here at home as well. And they also have to play Marshall on October the 7th. So the non-conference schedule a little bit difficult than it was last year. Of course, Notre Dame's probably their biggest test there, and that's a home game for them at least. But UConn, obviously, on the road, they were a bowl team last year. But again, no divisions in the ACC. So this schedule kind of makes it tougher for NC State because there's no divisions in the ACC, so they'll have a tough time winning it this year. But let's go game by game now for this NC State team. They'll play UConn to begin the season on September the 2nd. That will be an interesting non-conference game there. A group of 5 team going up against a Power 5 team. Of course, UConn made it to a bowl game last year. They were one of the most surprised teams in the group of 5 teams from last year. Notre Dame next after that on September the 9th. That will be an interesting game there at home. Of course, Sam Hartman, the transfer coming in there for Notre Dame. Then they'll play VMI after that on September the 16th. So you get 3 non-conference games to kick off the year. And then they'll play Virginia here on September the 22nd. That will be a road game for them. This will be on a Friday night, so it's like an ACC schedule is kind of different than all the other schedules in the country. And then they'll play Louisville here on a Friday night as well. So they'll play them at home this year. That's kind of like a revenge game for NC State. And then they'll play Marshall after that on October the 7th. So, you don't have a tough schedule here all the way to about September the 2nd to about the September the 29th. But it kind of gets tougher here in the month of October. They'll play Duke on the road. That's going to be a tough game there. Duke, one of the most surprised teams from last year. Then they'll play Clemson here. They'll get a bye week before playing this game. That's the good news there. Remember a couple years ago, NC State defeated Clemson at home, so it could happen again. Miami after that on November the 4th. And then they'll play Wake Forest and Virginia Tech here in back-to-back road games. Not tough back-to-back road games, I believe, for NC State. Wake Forest is going to be a little bit different this year with Sam Hartman gone. He transferred away. Virginia Tech, obviously, wasn't that good last year. I mean, this is just based off of the teams from where they were last year as well. So they'll play back-to-back road games there, and then they'll end things out with rival North Carolina here on November the 25th. They beat them last year on the road, but this will be a home game for NC State, so looking to make a second-year win over this North Carolina team. Let's now get to the projection here for this NC State team. And here's the scale that I pretty much use for my projections in 2023. If it's a 1% game, those are games where NC State has no chance of winning in. Games that, NC State has no chance of winning in, just like I said. I don't think you're going to see any of those underdog games on here, like 1% and 20%. 20% games are pretty much in the orange, games where NC State's going to be about a couple touchdowns of an underdog. 40% games in the yellow, games where NC State's going to be about a touchdown of an underdog. And then the 50-50 games will stay in the white, games where they can go either way. 60% games in the purple. These are games where NC State's going to be favored by a touchdown. 80% games will be favored by double digits, about a couple touchdowns. And then 90% games, these are games where NC State's going to be favored by more than 3. And I already got 2 of those on the schedule. It's VMI and Marshall here. I think, you got 2 easy non-conference games here on the schedule. Marshall, I know they defeated Notre Dame last year, and, that was kind of just a fluke a little bit. I guess Marshall is going to be really good again, but, I think NC State will take care of business. They have no business to lose both of these games at home, so I think, NC State will be ready for both of these games, so I think they will be favored by more than 3 touchdowns in both of these games. And we go to the games now where NC State's going to be favored by a couple touchdowns in the blue. And I got 2 of those on the schedule, UConn and Virginia. I know UConn should be in the purple. It's going to be a tough non-conference game, but I think UConn was just a surprise team. Maybe they just, were just a surprise team. Maybe they could take a step back this year, but I think NC State will be a favorite even though it's on the road. I'm going to favor them this one and by a couple touchdowns. Virginia, obviously, not the best team as they were last year. They were not one of the worst teams in the ACC, but other than that, they just weren't that good enough, so I'm going to put this one in the blue. So I think both of these games, NC State will be favored by a couple touchdowns in both of these games in the blue. We go to the games now in the purple, games where NC State's going to be favored by a touchdown. And I got 2 of those on the road. In the purple, it's Wake Forest on the road, Virginia Tech on the road. That's the back-to-back road games here. I think both of these games, you probably should say that's 50-50 games right there, but I just don't know what Wake Forest is going to look like. I don't know what Virginia Tech's going to look like either. And basically, this is just based off of where the teams were last year. Wake Forest did not have that really good of a season. They had a decent year, but I mean, there was a team that we were really high on, but they just did not live up to the expectations that we thought they would. Virginia Tech, obviously, one of the worst teams as well in the ACC last year, so that's why, it's in the purple because it's on the road. That's a tough place to play, and that's why it's in the purple for me here for NC State. I think they will be favored by a touchdown in both of these road games and back-to-back road games on November the 11th and November the 18th, and those are the games where NC State is going to be favored in, I believe. So how about the games where NC State's going to be an underdog in? Do I have any yellow, orange, or red games? I don't have any red or orange games on here, but I do have a yellow game on here. Actually, I got 2 of them on here. I got Notre Dame and Clemson. Notre Dame, obviously, going to be a pretty good team this year. They brought in Sam Hartman in the transfer portal. I know this is a home game. It should be a 50-50 game, but let's be honest, Notre Dame is a really tough team to project against and also a team to predict against. But I think Notre Dame, it's week 2 in the season, so I think Notre Dame's going to be favored by at least a touchdown in this game. But it could change to a 50-50 game by the time we do those predictions. Clemson kind of the same way. I just can't really project against them either. I can't predict them against them, but you never know. Both of these games could switch to a 50-50 game by the time we do our predictions, which are coming in the month of May. So I think these are the only games where NC State's going to be an underdog in, and that's, they have a really good shot to win it. And also, it's in the yellow, so they have a really good shot to win both of these games. And the rest of the games here on the schedule, Louisville on September the 29th, Duke on October the 14th, Miami on November the 4th, and then November the 25th against North Carolina. These are all 50-50 games. Louisville game was really good last year. That was on the road. It's kind of like a revenge game. I can't project that against NC State because I would favor them in this game if they beat Louisville last year. But I'm going to stick with it and put it in the white. Duke, obviously, on the road is going to be a pretty tough one. And this was a good Duke team last year, so I'm kind of expecting them to have a good year this year. And then Miami, obviously, I'm kind of expecting them to have a good year. So this will be a home game for NC State, so at least they'll have home field advantage. But as of right now, I'm going to put this one in the 50-50 games. And then obviously North Carolina's a rival game. It's kind of the same way with Duke as well. Rival games that can go either way, so I'm going to stick with them and put it in the white. So how many games do I see them winning out of those games? I see them winning probably 2 out of those 4 games in the white. Like, maybe they can win all their home games, and maybe they lose that road game to Duke. But I think, they could probably lose to Clemson and Notre Dame still. So let's get to the projection here for this NC State team. The projected record, not my official prediction. This is simply a projection based on the schedule. So if you look at the games that NC State's favored in and also the games that they are underdogs in, including those Notre Dame and Clemson games and the games that are in the white and the 50-50 games, you get an overall projected record for this NC State team at 7-5 in 2023. This schedule is kind of a little bit tough, but it's not too tough of a schedule. At least they get Clemson at home. At least you get Notre Dame at home. You have a chance to really knock off those teams. You get North Carolina at home as well, so you get pretty much your 3 toughest games here at home. Duke will be a tough one, though, on the road. And like I said, I think they win 2 out of those 4 games in the white. But as of right now, you get a projected record here for NC State at 7-5. Will they be contender once again this year in the ACC? We'll have to find out as we get later into the offseason. But that's my overall projected record for this NC State team. Let me guys know what you think about this NC State team down in the comments below. What do you think their worst case scenario would be? What do you think their best case scenario would be? And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.